This is the beginning of trigonometry for us. And we're going to start with some of section 5.2 of the book, namely, we're going to start with the definition of arc length. And the length of an arc along a circular radius r drawn out by an angle is what they define it. So basically, it's this length over here. And and it is the portion of the circumference between the initial and terminal sides of the angle. That is, this is where the angle starts. We're always going to start our angle at the horizontal line through the center of the circle. And then the angle is going to go like this, counterclockwise. We always go, this is the way we go around the circle. I don't know why they do it that way, but that's the way. It's the standard way. Okay, it had to be one way or the other. And they chose counterclockwise. Now, the length of an arc around an entire circle is called the circumference of the circle. So if you go all the way around to the back to the beginning, right? So all the way around from here around here, that's the circumference of the circle. And the circumference of the circle is 2 pi r. You probably learned that in a geometry class sometime back. Now, the ratio of the circumference to the radius, we're always going to be talking about the ratio of things to the radius when we talk about angles, is the constant 2 pi, and we're going to get back to that pretty soon. Okay, and so in no matter how big the circle is, the ratio between the circumference of the circle all the way around the circle and the radius is always 2 pi. So don't get confused. Even though the circle looks like a pi, the ratio is always 2 pi. And the radian measure, we'll talk more about that in a second. The radian is the way we're going to measure angles. No more degrees. From now on, we're going to use radians to measure angles. And the way it's going to work is this: it's the ratio of the length of the arc, right? This arc length over here, to the radius of the circle. And now, a lot of times we're going to use what we call the unit circle, which is the circle with a radius of 1. And that's what I'm going to bring up right now. Is okay, this is the trigonometry lesson under Tools Interactive Lessons in Brightspace. So here you see interactive lessons, tools, and here's the trigonometry lesson. Now, our first angle, angle 0, starts here. But it's also the angle, the where we are when we go 2 pi. Now, this is the unit circle. You see, it's on graph paper, and it's centered at 0, and it goes out to 1, x is 1, 0, or 0, 1, or minus 1, 0, or 0, minus 1. You can even see it's sort of writing there. And this is telling us all about the unit circle. Now, if you go halfway around the circle, that's 1 pi. So that's the top. I sometimes call that the apple pie. And then if you go the other half, you go 2 pi. So here you have gone, so from here, that's a quarter of a pi. I mean, that's a half a pi. You see, and it says pi over 2. So I've just gone pi over 2. Now I've gone to pi. Now this is 3 pi over 2. And finally, I'm at 2 pi. Now this unit circle also exists in the graph. So these points are all in this little piece of graph paper that goes from minus 1 to 1 in x and y. So that's sort of cool. And that's going to be important really soon. So, and this is what a quarter pi looks like. This is like half a pi, 3/4 of a pi, pi, 1 1/4 or 5/4 of a pi. And here we have 1 1/2 pies, 7/4 or 1 3/4 of a pi, and 2 pies. But we can also go backwards. So going from here to here, we've just gone minus 1/4 of a pi. Going from here to here, we've gone minus 1/2 of a pi. This is going backwards 3/4 of a pi, and this takes us to minus pi. This is minus pi 1/4, minus 5/4 of a pi, minus 3/2 of a pi in lowest terms, but it's really 6/4. So this is 7/4, and this is 8/4, but in lowest terms, it's minus 2 pi. So if you go clockwise, you're getting negative angles. Now, we'll move on from there, and I'm going to stop this video and start a new one to talk about sine and cosine. But that's angles.